Hello, everyone. It's Estrella. Today's podcast topic was inspired by people answering my Instagram questions about what I should talk about. So, the title today is A Child in an Adult's Body. So, some background about me: I am the oldest, I'm 21. I only have two little sisters, and they're 11 and 12, I want to say. I'm not too sure. But I was the only child for at least 9, almost 10 years of my life. And it was very lonely growing up, you know. My mom worked, from what I remember, she worked at a school cleaning. And I don't know what my dad worked in, but I know that during the day, my dad would take care of me, like in la tarde. And my mom would work, because she would work cleaning after school. So she would work from like 3 to 10. And my dad would take care of me during the day. So I grew up, mostly like hanging out with my dad and being more closer to him. And my mom didn't stop working those times until I was 17, 18. So all those times that once my sisters were born, she did take like the few months of leave, but I raised them. Those are my kids, you know? I would change their diapers, I would shower them, I would feed them, I would clean the house, all this after school. And honestly, it cost me like some friendships, at least growing up, because I remember that my friends and I would always go to Pizza Nova, which is this pizza spot right by my house. It literally like a 2 minute walk, 3 minutes. And we would always go on Fridays and get pizza there, but I was never able to go eventually because I would have to take care of my sisters on Fridays right after school since my dad would get home late and my mom was working, and they just stopped inviting me. And I remember being young and thinking, wow, like, why would they do that? Even though I couldn't go into this day, like, it hurt me, but it happened, whatever. But yeah, that cost me like, my friendships a bit because I was just my sister's caretaker. And I think when you're the oldest, especially if you're a sister, it's just so much different than being like an older brother. As an older sister, you want to take care of your siblings, you want to make sure they're okay and everything's going well with them, especially when your parents aren't around as much. And my thing is with them is that I want them to grow up better than I have. I want them to have better opportunities. And they're also in the state of mind where they just don't listen. Like, I'll tell them something and they'll be like, what do you know? Like, growing up when I was younger, my mom would always tell me to put lotion on my knees because they were so ashy. And I'd be like, girl, like, stay out my business. Like, what do you know, you know? Well, the thing is, she was right because I look back at pictures and I had the ashiest knees. And I tell my sister now, my youngest one, I'm like, girl, like, put lotion, like, perfumate, peinate, like, do all this because you're gonna look back and be like, I was so ugly, or, I looked so stinky. And she's like, girl, like, stay out my business. What do you know? The same thing that I'd say about my mom. And I'm like, girl, people think that oldest sisters are hypocrites because we tell you don't do this, don't do that, but we tell you from experience. And I feel like my little sisters don't understand that, especially because they're still young and they're in that like teenage, like, angsty era. Because when I was 13, I hated everything, I hated everyone. I was always so angry also growing up. And a lot of it had to do, with my parents not like being there for me, which is not their fault, I understand. But had I grown up with a different support system, I would have thrived a little bit more, I feel. Eventually, I ended up having, to kind of stand up for myself. And it's hard, but if you're in that position where your parents rely on you to do so many things, to, take care of your siblings, you have to stand up for yourself. What helped a lot was that once I got to college and my mom started working like different hours and she was at home more, I was able to, take back my teenage years and be able to do what I want. And it's not like I go out all the time and I do like crazy stuff, but I felt so limited before, especially in high school, because again, I couldn't do stuff because of my little sisters. And I would always feel bad leaving them with my dad. And I know that sounds like, girl, what? That's their dad. But I was like, no one, my thing is, I've always been the type of person that I don't like how people do things. So if I don't like it, I'll do it myself because no one's gonna do something as good as I do it. I don't know if that makes sense. Also, guys, ando bien mucosa. Please let it be. But yeah, I would never want to leave them with my dad just by themselves because I felt like he couldn't help them to his fullest capacity because at the end of the day, he's a man. You know, I'm not gonna like hear hate on my dad because sea lo que sea, he's not too bad, but at the end of the day, he's still a man, and he wouldn't like he can barely cook an egg. Like, please, why is he gonna be doing all this stuff for them? And you have to let that go eventually. You know, I think that's what kind of stopped me from doing things from um going out as much because I would always think, well, I have to go back and like take care of my sisters. I have to do this. I have to that. But no, I don't because he's their dad, you know? And I've let that go now with my mom as well, where I like let them be because like I used to leave them at home and I'd be like, oh, like I can't go out because my sisters. I can't do this because of my sisters. And you just have to let it go because at the end of the day, they're the parents. You're just the sibling. But you know, as me being the oldest sister, it's just hard because I want to be there for them. And I feel bad. I don't know. Because then I look back and I'm like, I don't want to regret missing time with my sisters. But then again, they're so mean. So I don't know. I feel that even though all these years though that I've been in college, I wish that my parents had cared a little bit more. I feel like everyone else's parents are so involved and they care for them, but I'm in my last year of college and my mom still doesn't know what I'm studying. I'll tell her and she's like, I don't even know what that is, which is like, okay, whatever, you don't understand. But it makes me feel so, you know, it's like lonely. I feel unsupported, especially in my first year of college. I think I still get this feeling to this day where I would sit in classrooms, you know, I sit in classrooms and I feel that everyone knows something I don't know. That everyone is, you know, talking about, like, I'll do the readings, I'll do the homework, and I'm still like, what the hell are we learning? I genuinely don't understand. Or it feels that everyone has this background knowledge that I missed out on, you know? And yeah, like everything comes from, you know, the readings, the homework and stuff, but I always feel so out of it. I don't know. I also think people have this like pretentious way of speaking where it's like you don't even have to say it that way because we understand what you mean if you say it how it is. But I just always feel like an imposter in these college classes and it makes me, you know, feel lonely because I know that it's not something that only I feel, that everyone else can kind of understand the fact that, you know, and we might feel, you know, you might get that imposter syndrome, and I feel that sometimes I get it so bad because I think everyone knows something or they're very educated and stuff, and then there's just me, like I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know what we're doing, what is going on. And a lot of it, I feel that everyone, that their parents help out with that a lot because I used to be vice president of like a club, and my parents didn't even know what I would stay to school for so long. And they never asked. They never asked, which is okay, whatever. You don't want to know. But I would always think, you really like aren't involved in my life that way. And it's kind of sad because I wish you were. They don't care about my grades. They've never asked. They've never asked, like, you know, about school, what my plans are afterwards. And if I tell them, it's very like they're very uninterested and it just gets so lonely. I feel that I can't tell others how it feels sometimes because they don't fully understand, you know? Um because it is different when you're the oldest sister. Compared to my boyfriend, his parents care a lot about his grades. They know what he's doing. He's got his future planned out, whatever, whatever. My friends too. I feel like everyone has something going for themselves, and then there's just kind of me that I'll have something going and it'll be fine for a while. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's that. That's me, no aspirations or whatever. And it's not even that I don't have aspirations, it's that I want to do something, but it's just so hard nowadays with this like job market and feeling without, all that lack of support. And sometimes I need an older sister. I need an older sister to tell me what to do because, like I said, I just always feel like everyone knows something that I don't know and they have everything figured out. And I don't. Also, something that just always gets to me is time. I know that there's so much of it, but I get so scared. I have this fear of like, it's called like, I guess, impending doom, that I feel something bad is gonna happen to me and I'm not gonna know what to do, how to move on from that. Because this literally reminds me of this TikTok I had. Like, I'm literally 21, and when I was younger, 21-year-olds to me looked so old. And now that I'm 21, I feel like that Mitski song that's like something like grown into a tall child. That's how I feel. I feel that I'm still 13-year-old me in this, you know, women body, woman body, but I have nothing figured out. I just act. I just act. I feel that nothing, you know, I don't know what's going on. Does anybody else feel like that? Let me wait for the silent responses. Hopefully you guys do. Hopefully it's not just me, that I'm just freaking crazy and in my head all the time. But this literally reminds me of this TikTok that I seen of these parents. I just saw it like 2 3 days ago. These parents, what are they doing? Watching a video of themselves. They're so young and they're literally like, our life is over, or we lived a good life. Like they're, realizing that they're gonna die. And that always gets to me because I'm like, I don't want to live my life thinking, of when I'm going to die, how I'm going to die, all that stuff, and not do nothing with my life. But I also don't want to be living my life and it just ends. I have this fear of, like, dying. I don't think others really think about that. Because I'll be fine and I'll just get this anxiety and I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm going to die one day. This is it. That's going to be me. And I'm going to get nowhere with my life. I'm not going to do anything. But I don't know. Oh, I keep losing the mouse. And going back to imposter syndrome, I have been recently thinking about kind of, pursuing and furthering my education because and not to compare myself with others because, that's never a good thing to do, but I feel that everyone has their like bachelor's now and they're going for their masters. They're furthering their education, they're bettering themselves. And I used to think, well, I don't need a master's to, be smarter, to prove who I am, how smart I am and all that stuff. But I'm like, do I need a master's? The way that this job market is looking like, I need money because everything has gotten so expensive. And I feel that I'm thinking too late about my master's, because it's February of my last semester. So I might either have to take like a gap year or just do it online, which is fine. Online is not that bad. But when I think of it, I wonder, how am I even going to bring it up to my parents? They're going to be like, girl, what is the reason? Or they're not going to care, once again, how I said. And I wish that I was like some of those people that had that support. And it's hard to talk about how I feel in that aspect sometimes because what there's also this TikTok trend that's like, oh, when something happens but the lamp is starting to flicker or something like that. That's literally how I feel when I think about my parents saying, I'm proud of you. And my boyfriend will be like, oh, well, I'm proud of you. Or somebody else will say, I'm proud of you. But you guys don't understand that I wish to hear it from my parents. I wish that somebody would acknowledge, my hard work, even if it's not a lot sometimes. Like, I, I feel like I bust my butt off to work, work, um, go to school, do all this. Because once again, like I said, it's very lonely. It's tiring as well, not being able to talk about like what goes on in my mind sometimes to people and how worried I am for the future. And everyone says like, girl, like don't worry about things you can't control. It is so hard to not worry about things you can't control when you're someone with low key anxiety. I worry about things that I can't control all the time. And I know that it shouldn't. And that, if I can't see it and I can't do anything with it, then it's nothing to me. But I don't know. That's just a worry of mine, you know? Um, but yeah, I feel like I just don't know how to adult. I don't know what's happening with my life. I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm here to tell you that if you feel the same way that I do and you relate, maybe not with being the oldest, but with feeling lost about your future, especially right now, it'll be okay. Nothing is out to get us. Time will pass anyway, so might as well do what you want. That's something I keep telling myself when I think about this whole getting my master's thing. That time is gonna pass anyway, so might as well do it now if I have the means and the intention. And everything will work out the way that it's supposed to. A lot of something that was always on my mind throughout this whole college years of mine was the fact that I found it so hard to find an internship. And it made me wonder, like, do I just don't have anything that makes me special compared to these people? And maybe I do, maybe I don't. But what rejection is redirection. I always think of it that way. And what's for me will come to me. But I need something to happen right now. But I will be patient. And I hope all of us are, because we can do it. We have to stand in solidarity, especially, us Latina women. Um, we need more representation. I fear that we do. Every time that I look somewhere, it's always like white women, black women, Asian women, etc., etc. But all this Latina representation we have, which is again is another reason why I'm like, I need my masters. I need to further my education to better myself for me, and for all the other women that are around me that want to know that we can do this. Because all these, like, these influencers and all that represent us, they're so dumb, they're so careless, they don't want to further the education, they don't care about school, they don't care about this. And it is so sad to see, because I think we're one of the group that our parents make these big sacrifices for us to, come here and, oh, I'm so sorry, I burped, to have a good life. But we they don't do anything with it. And I don't want to be one of those people. I kind of, even this is always what I go back to. Even if my parents don't really support, don't really understand, I want to do it because maybe one day they will and they'll understand, that it is it is really cool to have someone, and especially your daughter, achieve all these goals and do all these things for herself and for her future. So, yeah, that is my TED Talk for today. We are not alone and we can do anything, girlies. Bye.